And good evening and welcome to City Focus. I'm Marty Olson, your host, and tonight, being election season at the local level, I'm delighted to bring back, actually, two of the Republican candidates for New London City Council who I think both deserve serious consideration and your vote. They certainly have mine. Directly across from me, New London Strong, is John Russell, and next to him is Aaron Ide, and both these gentlemen have run before. John was elected a dozen years ago. God, I got elected then too.
You were, Marty.
I'll be damned. But Aaron, you ran 2 years ago, and I'm just kind of, as we're getting down to the home stretch here, what are you hearing out there, and what have you learned, and what are you doing differently that maybe you didn't do 2 years ago?
So by training, I'm an engineer. I'm not really one to be out and socializing and promoting myself. And I think that's taken some effort to try to get to that mentality to go out there and just introduce myself and work the room when I go to an event and try to go out and do doors. Signs. I started doing my signs earlier this year. I learned from the best with you, Marty, of getting your signs out earlier than everyone else. You have a lovely sign here. Get them out in, August, right? I ordered them right away when I accepted the nomination, and want to get those out in yards and spark some interest from people and do things and get some name recognition. Because I didn't grow up around here. I didn't grow up in New London. I've never had a store with my name on it. Right? There's no streets around New London or car dealerships with my name on it, so I had to make sure I get my name recognition out there however I can. And with Ide being a short last name and unusual, figured a pun was a good way to deal with it. I'd vote for him.
Well, it's certainly a little bit different. Plus, you've got the sign vertical versus horizontal, which is a little bit different as well. So,
I've had a lot of people ask me, what is this IDE thing? And then I would explain to them, which was a good icebreaker.
Yeah.
It was a good, well, they don't read that
They don't
far.
read the bottom,
They only
so
read
elect Aaron
3
Ide for
second
New
sound
London.
bites, and that takes a 4th second. But, I thought it was great. So then it gives me a chance to explain what Ide was and who he is and why he would be a good candidate. So I thought it was brilliant. At first I went, like everybody else, what is that? But I thought it was a really smart move.
what is that? Who is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one big lesson I took out of this, was get your name recognition out there, self-promote. Personally, I really don't like the I care and I'm a nice guy attitude that you get from a lot of politicians. I want to actually run on policy. So first thing I did when I accepted was write up 4 ideas I thought were kind of nonpartisan, day one solutions we can promote if I get elected to city council, and push them, and bring them at least to the agenda and get them talked about and get people to agree on them, right? Basic things like having a long-term infrastructure plan, right? Why don't we get
You mean like paving Bank Street and then digging a giant hole?
Exactly. Things like that. We don't plan, right? What's the saying? Failure to plan is planning to fail. So
That's right.
we, as a city, have done that repeatedly in the 13 years I've lived here. So I want to make sure that one of the things we do is actually have a development plan that's more than good ideas on how to develop the city, but actually say we're going to do this. These water mains are up for getting redone, or these electrical wires should get redone every 30 years or whatever it is, and actually come up with that plan. Work with the utility providers. Come up with a 50-year plan, and then let the city council approve it every 2 years, right? Let it keep getting revised. But at least if you know what's coming up in the next few years, you have less wasteful spending, like digging up Bank Street, or by down on the lower half of the city. Montauk Avenue has been torn up 3 times in the time I've lived here, which those are all tens of $1 million projects every time you do that.
And Montauk,
Yeah, Montauk,
the entire street has been redone in the last 10 years.
twice. 3 times, right? They
Yeah,
did it for the repaving, they did it for the water mains, and they did it for the gas.
it was repaved and then it's been torn up. That's
Yeah.
my point. It's just that a huge capital project to tear it up and get the base in a proper state and then pave, and lo and behold, it's like time to dig in. It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Now we were chatting last night, and I didn't know if you wanted to go into your second, third, and fourth
That's
phase.
fine.
But because I thought they were very, very well written and very thought out. Well, maybe later in the show. And this really is this issue really is burning me, but it's a city issue, but it's not necessarily a council issue. But a number of years ago, Marty, and you remember, because you and I believe, were on the council at the time, or maybe we weren't quite on it yet. But the city decided to become a magnet, right? Whole magnet school system.
Oh, for the schools, yeah. Well,
And
that
to get the 95% reimbursement. Do you remember that?
yeah. Well, I was on the council because that was done when Venanzio was, and I was on the council. You may not have been, but I was.
wasn't. But I remember having a really strong conversation with a couple of counselors at the time, disagreeing with it and telling them why I felt it was a bad thing. Because with anything with the state, they giveth and they take away. So what the hook was on this was we got 95%, the City of New London, reimbursement to build the schools, but we had to get a certain percentage of kids in from outside the district.
That's
Right.
correct, and we're not meeting that.
We're not getting that. So I think that chicken's coming home to roost. I know that Aaron here sits on a very important Board of Ed board right now.
Projects and programs. Yep.
Yeah, and he might be able to carry it a little further than I do, but I know that this could be a huge impact in the coming budget.
If they stick to the letter of the law, I would agree with you. And one of the issues here is that, why aren't our neighboring communities sending their kids here? And I would argue that a primary consideration is that we're not delivering the academic goods.
Well,
we're
it's-
still trolling at the bottom of the state with Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, et cetera. And that's not an environment that's going to encourage our neighbors to send their children into New London, along with other issues.
And
But,
that was one of the reasons, Marty, that I had given these two gentlemen I spoke with at the time, was the perception is New London's not a good place to have your kids come to school. Now, those same councilmen that we served with had children in the school system, chose to send them to private schools. They wouldn't put them in the public school system. And it goes on. I mean, if what is true of what I'm being told, what's happening in the halls of the high school and the middle school, the kids are running the school. It seems like it's chaos, and we're not getting fed that out on the street. We're not hearing that. But that being said, the city's going to get strapped with a huge bill.
That's if the state toes the line, and I suggest this in that they've got so much dumped into this program. It's kind of like one of these. It's too big to fail.
Right.
I mean, that they're not going, because it's a major smear on the state if it does as well, that they gambled wrong.
Well, they've done
They
a
don't
lot
want
of-
to, and they don't
yeah.
want to have that happen either.
Well, Aaron's been closer to this because I
Yeah.
said he's sitting. So let's hear what he's got to say.
Sure.
So, did some of the look up on the data last year? Right, there's 206 high schools in Connecticut. For proficiency and graduation rate, New London's like the 190th
Okay.
range, or 194, 196. I can't remember exactly what it is. So bottom 5%, right, in terms of graduation rate and proficiency. It gets even lower when you look at math. So our math proficiency is like 1 in 12, and not like 1 in 12 are exceeding. 1 in 12 are graduating high school at high school level math. We are qualitatively and quantifiably a bad school district, right? And we kind of whitewash that by building these new buildings, and look how nice it is. To your point on the out of district, every kid that comes in from out of district brings money from that district via the state. And when they do that, when we stood up the STEM magnet school for the high school, the STEM high school, it was capped at 50% out of district students. And I've been a mentor on the robotics team in the high school since 2012. So I've seen this entire implementation from when it was just the STEM high school to the whole all magnet program. And the biggest drop in student enrollment I saw was the year following the high school getting rid of the STEM school diploma. Because at the time, the New London High School was ranked 190 something out of 200 and something high schools, and the STEM school is ranked 20 something out of 200 and
Wow.
something schools. So people from districts around here go, wow, the STEM high school is doing a really good job. They have a really good program. We want to send our kids from other districts. And so we got in half the kids from those districts and half the tuition coming from the state were coming in on those with those kids. To your point, we lose, I think, like you said, like 95%. I don't hold me to that one exactly, but if we drop below 15% out of district, so we drop below 15%, we lose that funding. So we've been hovering right around that 15%. And the statistics get kind of squirrely because you look at like dropout rate officially in New London is also atrocious, right? Dropout rate is, our high school graduation is like one of the #1 indicators of success in life, right? There's a company, a nonprofit called the Graduation Alliance, and they track performance and try to push for, especially in urban environments, kids to graduate high school. So there's a few things. One, lifetime earnings are 700% higher if you graduate high school than if you don't. 9 out of 10 high school dropouts don't make above $40,000 a year. Granted, it's kind of about almost 5, 6, 7 years old, so with inflation, maybe let's say $50,000 now. Something like 80% of our incarcerated population in the United States are high school dropouts. Right? This does not bode well for the city of New London when our official dropout rate is 1 in 5 kids. We are failing 1 out of every 5 kids you see. Right? On just dropping out, we're failing 11 out of 12 in their ability to do math and balance a checkbook and take out a mortgage and take out loans and use a credit card responsibly and pay bills and taxes and invest their money if they ever get excess. We're creating a cycle of poverty by a cycle of poor education. And the other half that I keep saying officially the dropout rate is 21% from last year, because if you look at our testing scores and our standardized testing, the difference between the sophomore year to the senior year, the class sizes for the last 3 years since COVID have gone down by about 40%, which is your dropouts plus your transfers out of district plus your kids that just don't somehow show up in the register, right? So only the ones that drop out show up in that dropout rate. But you're looking at more like 2 out of every 5 students not graduating from New London High School that start New London High School.
That's a staggering numbers. Staggering.
Was it like that when you were in school, Marty, at New London High?
No.
You managed to make it to college. I think you got a couple of master's degrees, haven't you?
One, but 249 kids in my class. In class of 1972. Before they combined, New London for a period was graduating barely 100.
Yeah.
Before the combination, yeah. So when they combined it,
That was a staggering number. The shrinkage, slippage, whatever you want to call it. It was just.
and you see it now with the devaluation of a New London diploma versus the STEM school diploma. My high school students that are on the robotics team, I lost actually it was the same exact time that Three Rivers started doing their finish your high school and get your AA program. So they started this program through Three Rivers. You can get your associate's degree at the same time you get your diploma. So between that and them telling all these high school freshmen and sophomores that they're now going to get a New London High School diploma instead of the STEM diploma that they came for when they came from out of district, I lost like 2/3 of my out of district students between 2018 and 2019.
Now, where did that come from? Where did that idea to do that come from?
To get rid of the diploma, because the whole district became an all magnet.
Oh, okay, all right.
So
that's
the
what it
STEM
was.
high school stopped being an independent diploma; it became a New London High School diploma.
Yeah. But one of the things that dovetails into this conversation, on the city side, the mayor has and is continuing to gamble heavily on apartment dwellings for housing, I think, which is geared primarily for electric boat. And I'm just saying, I think that's the methodology and thinking anyway. Perhaps the hospital, although I've been talking to Bill Stanley, he didn't think that was accurate. As a former VP up with L&M and Yale New Haven, is that if you have schools that are not performing, you're certainly not going to get young families moving into our community. And so what are we going to be getting in these apartment buildings, assuming that they fill up? There's going to be singles, young people, young couples, empty nesters, and I envision more of a transient population, because when the young folks get married and have families, they're going to have to make some very serious decisions. And school is the biggest one. Do we send our kids to school here, or do we move out, or we send them to private school? And a lot of them will opt out, and they have been for years. It's not a new idea, but with all this new housing, and they're also not geared for families in terms of the size of them, the bedrooms, and there's no amenities for kids and things of that nature either.
I don't think they're aiming for families. I think they're aiming for
Young
people that can afford
professionals.
them. Right? And it's not even just professional. Like I'm a project lead at Electric Boat, right? So I'm an equivalent of the 5th tier of engineering, engineers, which is kind of the high level that you can get to without appointment and interviewing, going into the management ranks. I don't think I could afford with my with a child and my wife not working. I cannot afford a $4,000 a month apartment, which is what they're saying that the new ones in Fort Trumbull are going to be going for.
Really?
For the top end of that. The low
Wow.
end being around $2,500, right? So I know how much the entry level engineers at EB make. I know how much the designers are making when they get started, because that's a union contract. You can look that up right now online, right? You can see how much they make, and they make time and a half. They're going to be to afford these apartments. You got to get the union guys coming in, especially the new ones. They have to do 100 hours of overtime a week to be able to pay for those apartments. Those are not the clientele you're going to get. So you're going to have a mixed clientele of wealthy empty nesters, right? I think so one of the, anecdotally, I don't have actual figures on it. There was the new apartment building built maybe 4 or 5 years ago down on Westridge.
Yes.
Next to the other apartments, they're building that for same thing. For EB is hiring a bunch, and they're going to move all these EB people in.
That was built by AR Builders, the same people who built the docks on Bank.
Yep. So when I was doing doors down there, one of my friends that did work at EB had gotten an apartment in that building, and we were walking around doing it. He's like, more than half of my neighbors are empty nesters. They're all older, single, baby boomer generation that moved there because they want to be close to the beach and they want to be close to the hospital, right? Which is fine, great. It's a wonderful place to live, but it's not the clientele I think that they're aiming for. And like you said, it definitely creates a divide between you have a working class, working poor neighborhood in New London, and then you have this wealthy, retirement communities, which is basically what I think the Fort Trumbull area is going to develop into. You're going to have a community center.
It's a gentrification, and you don't hear the mayor or the council using that word at all. Because it's kind of a taboo in democratic circles.
Well, and the other side of that, Marty, too, is you look at downtown, all right, 200 and some empty storefronts. No plans how to get anybody in there, up the foot traffic. You go through and you see a lot of things that if you're one of these people that can afford one of these apartments, you may not want to see, all right? How do you get people downtown? I mean, we're 30-some people down on the police we should have, from 95 when you and I served last to 60-some now. And I'd like to see police on the streets, walking, bicycles. I think that's the greatest deterrent, and that'll be one of the things that we can help change the perception of New London. I mean, when I worked in engineering, the guys would tell me, I said, why don't you meet me down New London? Oh, my wife would never go down to New London, ever. And you ask any people anywhere, come on, join me down. No, I'm not going to New London. It's not safe at night. It's not. Well, even the ladies in our Kiwanis Club, same thing. They won't go down to New London.
Well, they have voted basically to take it out of town.
Yeah, and that's what's going on. And I really believe that we need to spend some money. Now, our city is it's about $100 million budget right now, give or take.
A little more, but yeah.
And any business that's a $100 million business is a formula for how much of your business that you spend on marketing or PR or, in this case, changing perception. We spend a penance. Remember, I think when we were on, there was $35,000 they were spending. They were given to Quinn and Harry to do the PR for the city. And that's.
Well, one of the things, I don't know if I'm a big fan of, on Sunday evenings on the History Channel, they've got a documentary series, the different business types and how they've built America. And you mentioned marketing and how much the beer companies spend on marketing, or the candy companies, or this or that, or the other thing, car companies. And I mean, it's serious business to get their product out there. And they're not playing games. And the city's playing footsies.
Well, I've looked at it for a long time. When I remember, we took a stakeholder trip. Do you remember that, Marty?
I do.
So what did we do? We went to
Newburyport, we went to Portland, Maine, and Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
And what were we looking for? We were looking for cities that were distressed, that rose from the ashes like the Phoenix. And how did they do it? That's what we were looking for.
Yep.
What I came away with was that these cities found somebody with vision that they could get behind and push up. All right? We have here in New London every single ingredient to bake the greatest cake in the world. We just don't have the cooks. We don't have the right cook to put it together. I mean, right now we're getting all these apartments. The only reason the city's taking it like it was their great work that brought these people in. No, it wasn't. It was the contracts at EP. That's what is bringing these people in to now do this. Or it could be the Coast Guard Museum's coming in. So that's good. We're going to, people are jumping on that too. But it's not New London. It's not New London. It's just that's where EB is, or that's where the engineering side of it is these days anyway.
Yeah.
So until they can figure out a way to get people to think of New London as, hey, I go to New London, let's go to the Guard, it's fantastic. Let's go to this restaurant downtown, that's really good. Or let's go to the Custom House Museum, or
the assets are here. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
for sure.
I mean, whether it be from the Coast Guard and Connet, the northern end of the town, down to Ocean Beach with the southern tip, and everything in between. I mean, we've got a lot of positives that we don't necessarily parlay into positive outcomes.
Exactly.
We have something else that no one can buy, right? We have history. We have 400 years of history in this city. That if you go to most of this nation, it was developed in the last 50 years, right? All these suburbs around, 50 to 70 years. Most of the cities around this country are strip malls and tract homes, and they don't have the same heritage and history that we do, right? We date back to the 1600s. We've had real American history and important events in history happen here. And we have some walking trails. We have historical societies. We have the Maritime Museum. We're going to build the Coast Guard Museum. But we don't have any way to really pull that thread, or to your point, market it, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. New London has a public safety perception problem more than a public safety problem. We need more police because our crime rate has increased, and things have gotten worse since they try to get rid of it, right? Because one, police officers are city employees. Why would you work in a city that's constantly trying to get rid of you, and that your elected officials and your employer doesn't want you there, right? So with the city council openly hostile to the police, we have a hard time hiring police, right? It's pretty simple. It's a pretty obvious thing. If you're going to tell people we don't want you here and then try to hire them, they're not going to come and work for you. Yeah. The other thing is the public safety perception problem, right? Like you said, we don't market well enough. The day after that shooting on Bank Street in August, right, you have a shootout downtown, and the following Monday, I'm talking with, I'm the only one that lives in New London of the group I'm working with, that over coffee, water cooler moment, right? And I have two of the young ladies I work with and one of the guys all say that they tell our manager that they refuse to come into work now if they cannot get a spot in the parking garage. Our parking garage only has capacity for about half the people at DB, and everyone else has to park on the street. After the shooting, they go, there is not a way, I'm going to work from home. I know I'm not allowed to work from home, but I no longer feel safe in this city because there was a shooting downtown, in not broad daylight, but during business hours. There's a shooting, and I don't feel comfortable. And with all the car thefts going on in New London now, right, we've had a spike in car thefts and car break-ins. They say if I'm not in the parking garage behind the big gate and armed security, I am not going to come to work anymore. That is ridiculous. And I'm like, well, I bike into work, but I feel so. But again, I'm big and I've lived here for a while, right? So I understand their concern, especially this time of year when it gets dark early. Do you really want to be walking all the way past the sewer treatment plant and all the way down to the fort in the dark without streetlights? At night in the dark, if you don't feel comfortable, especially when our media in the day keeps reporting all these shootings and car break-ins, and it's not like it's not happening at all. Not this past week, but the last Monday, one of my neighbors, like 3 doors down, had her window smashed in on her car at 10 a.m. They caught him on these kids breaking into her car in daylight hours on the, their blink camera or whatever. 10 a.m. during the day, in the middle of the morning, broke in, smashed, and grabbed everything they could reach out of her truck. Right? Clearly, great. The police showed up afterwards and tell you, but these people feel like they have free run to do that. And it's something I've never seen in this city since I've been here, right? It's just happened because we've emboldened the type of people that will do that thing. So we have a public safety perception problem. We've spent too much time fighting.
And John's been arguing that point for years. I mean, and the thing that I think that it's incumbent upon our elected officials, and our mayor's the worst of this, I might add, because his attitude is one of, well, I feel comfortable here, therefore you should. As an elected official, not only are you looking through your own eyes, you've got a responsibility to look through everybody else's eyes. How are they viewing things? How are they seeing it? And if they're not feeling comfortable, what are you going to do about it? And that's what's going to be your job when you get elected.
Yeah, that'd be.
You saw that with the last 2 restaurants that have closed downtown, right? We had a shooting. How many hundreds of millions or tens of millions of dollars in business did we lose downtown because of that? The mayor may not feel safe, but clearly the people of southeastern Connecticut do not feel safe enough to go out to dine in downtown New London anymore.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. We need to start having cops on the beat downtown again.
Well, one of the things that I'd like to do when I get on this council, right, is to hold these people accountable. What I want to do is ask the mayor, so right now the mayor has no pushback, except for maybe Saturday once in a while. They have no pushback on his ideas, So the other day I saw a picture of this gentleman. He was in front of a whole group of drawings explaining to the council this development at Fort Trumbull with 500 units of housing and a 6-story parking structure. All right? There's not a person on that council that can read a drawing. Now, Aaron, I bow to Aaron, but I did it for 10 years. That's what I did, review drawings for 10 years. So there's nobody on the council that can ask pertinent questions. All right? They don't understand. If it's a social justice issue, yeah, okay, they might know. But if it's anything like on how to run a business, why is this a good or a bad idea? And what are the questions, proper questions to ask? That's what we need to do as guys, and hopefully Gina too, get elected. To hold them accountable for their ideas. They might be a good idea, but they still need to be vetted. And they're not being vetted.
Well, they're ramming things through and waiving 3 readings and not having a proper airing of ideas, and that's really bad policy.
Let me take that one. That's my hot button.
Well, go for it.
So
that's called a segue for you.
Oh well, I want Aaron in too, but I mean, I've been screaming at the RTC about this for a long time to bring this up, right? So our charter requires that an action of the council has to have 3 readings. And what that basically does, so the first reading is on this Monday, 2 weeks later is the second reading, 2 weeks later the third reading. That gives the electorate and the people in New London time to first find out about what they did, second look into it, and third respond to it.
Unless waived by a 5/7 vote. So
Yeah,
if we get 3 of us on.
Well, the thing is, it's when Marty and I and Adam and Rob and actually Michael and Wade Heislop and somebody else who was Mike Pacetto were on the council, we didn't have this problem because it was kind of like an unspoken thing that the only time this waiving of the 3 readings was for something very simple. Say, Aaron's wife, Sammy, donates $50 to the beautification committee. We have to accept it. That's an action of the committee. So we just waive that. But if it was like emergency repair on a boiler in the high school, we would waive that. All right?
The key there was an emergency.
Yeah. But not the $30, $40 million rec center. They waived it, and it was 3 years before they put a shovel in the ground. What was the big hurry?
Keep people from arguing or keep
Well,
people from reading
people
the
were
plan.
from realizing that it was probably a political action by the mayor to finally get something built at Fort Trumbull, than anything else. And we got a call?
No.
So that's been an issue that's been driving me crazy. People do not realize their rights are being taken away from them. They don't understand it, what's been happening. And this council doesn't understand that their job is to represent all the people. Like you said earlier, represent all the people, not just their own guys that they talk to after the meeting. They're there for everybody. All right? By ignoring this 3 reading, by ignoring that, they're doing that. They're taking away their rights, and they're just anyway. That frustrates me, and it has been for years. And that's why I'm happy that when we get on the council, we can stop that.
Yeah, that's a major issue.
Yeah, and yet nobody's talking about it because nobody would understand it.
Well,
because
right now, John, at least from where I'm sitting, and I'm on the sideline this year, but I don't hear the incumbents at any level talking about anything. They seem to be very content to sit on their hands. They're arrogant as all get-go, that they're in like Flint, and they are really taking you guys for granted, that you guys don't stand a chance.
The Democrats in this city start on third base, and they celebrate like they hit a home run every time. Doesn't mean we can't win. It just means we have to work harder and we have to swing for the fence. So I think that's what we're doing. We're just going door to door. We're talking to voters.
well, Aaron, tell them what happened recently. There was a debate.
Yeah.
Tell
Oh, yeah.
them what happened.
So Hearing Youth Voices, Fresh New London, and Step Up New London.
So these are 3 youth-oriented
Three
groups.
youth, yeah. So they had really good turnout of the youth, right? So again, not voters, but they all have parents that live in the city, right? Probably had a good 50 to 75 people there show up for the debate. It was myself, Shanice Austin, and Jeff Hart showed up, who's running as the only non-incumbent running on the Democratic ticket, and he showed up. We postponed the debate a bit so he can show up because we contacted him. He was able to get. He decided to come. So we had a debate, but none of the sitting councilors, the mayor didn't show up. The Greens had all their candidates there. We had all the candidates except you there. Myself and Beloved did it. Gina was able to make it, I think, later, but was stuck at work for the beginning, so she missed most of the actual council debate. But yeah, and the kids actually had really good, and like I said, kids with teenagers had really good questions. I think we had a youth speed round. They gave us 6 prepared questions we could answer, and then after that they had more like a dozen. The kids ask really pertinent questions and feel like they want to be heard. And I think now they're starting to realize, hey, look, the people that we've been promoting and pushing into office over and over and over again don't give a shit about. Don't give a about us, right? They've been promoting and pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. And they go, look how many empty seats there are. And I think there's a little bit of hostility there. They left all the seats with the name tags out saying, look, they're not here. And then, to your point, the way that back to the 3 readings, I think I got a little bit of flack because I lost my temper actually. Not really my temper, but I got a little riled up on, 'cause I try to stay level-headed on everything. A little riled up on the answers that my opponents gave. But I think the woman asking the question thought it was directed at her. And what the question was, how are you going to spend what 6 things are you going to spend $12 million on for New London when you're elected? And they go, oh, we're going to give money to the schools, or we're going to give it to buy puppies for everyone, or whatever answer. They gave the answer they thought they want to hear. My response was, that's a dangerous question, because you're asking us, you have 5 seconds to give me an answer, you have 30 seconds to answer, and tell me how you're going to do this thing. I'm putting you in a predicament, in a position, go answer this. And their knee-jerk reaction, the people running, one of the 3 of us is most likely going to win a seat, right? If statistically nothing happens. They're sitting there and they're doing, just give it away, just give what they think, and they get like the polite applause, right? And I said, this is a dangerous question. The follow-up, what we should be asking you is, Is this $12 million a grant? Is this an increase to taxpayer revenue? Is this 12 million we have to divide off of something else? Is this something that's coming out of somewhere else's budget? Did we just cut 12 million from somewhere else? Can we just cut 12 million from the tax rolls entirely? Or are we going to redirect this? Why does it have to be 6 things? What made it that you wanted to put 2 million to each thing? Is it have to be evenly divided? There's a lot of follow-up questions we should be asking, but we don't have 3 readings. We don't have discussion in our city council. Our legislative body has become a rubber stamp. It is not a deliberative body. So we get to the point where, and you guys know this because you guys serve on it.
And this is where the mayor, I mean, he has been living in La La Land, since COVID. I mean, the amount of federal and state money that has been poured into New London has allowed him to keep the budget relatively stable, even though spending is rocketing out of control. But if you talk to John Q. Public, and when you bring up the mayor, well, taxes are stable. And that's what they're looking at, their tax bill. They're not looking at they're not looking at the fine print. They're not looking between the lines. They're very, detailed. And that's what he's running on. And the council's running on that as well, because they approve the budget. And they don't have to be accountable, and nobody has, been holding them accountable, and they really need to be rocked.
Yeah, we have a fiscal cliff coming up, and instead we're spending $14,000 on garland for Christmas decorations, or we just gave $50,000 to a private individual as a grant to fix up his building on Bank Street, right? So right? I don't know how that's ARPA money. I don't know how giving someone that owns a building and saying, here's $50,000 to go fix up your building. Where's I don't get that money from the city, right? But some people are just going, asking the council, asking the mayor, saying, "Can I have some cash?" And they go, "Yeah, sure, we'll give you a grant. Why not? Thank you." But not everyone else. Here you get this money, but
It's a little bit of an unfair advantage for that business owner. I mean, you're a business owner downtown.
So Marty, get to your point. Think about this. We have 60 cops. That's 35 salaries we're not paying. That's well over $1 million, $2 million, $3 million maybe.
Well, it'd be budgeting at 80 because that's the
Yeah.
minimum by ordinance.
Well, all right. So that's 20.
Yep.
All right. That's several million. Public Works is half what it was 10 years ago. Another way they're saving money.
Well,
But they're saving money
they've been
by-
the whipping boy by cutting
Well,
those
they're
positions.
saving money by putting off maintenance, regular maintenance. I learned this when I served as president of the School Building and Maintenance Committee. We're terrible at maintaining our infrastructure. Terrible. It was one of the smartest things they did was to privatize water and sewer. One of the smartest things. We now have 39 employees, all right, to handle what 90 employees did back in 1991. And we have the 3rd lowest rates in the state. And we're the poster child for looking forward, for being progressive.
Yeah. I do have a question for you because you are on the Water and Water Pollution Control
Yeah.
Authority. And they're embarking on a program now with lead pipes, correct?
Yeah, it's called lead service line replacement.
And is that going to impact homeowners, property owners financially, or who's paying for this?
Well, this is the way it's going to work, all right? We got a sizable amount that was given to us as a grant, all right?
Yep.
But not all of it. So up front, all right, so what they're going to do is when they locate a lead service line, all right, they're going to dig from the center of the street to the house and replace all of that lead. Then they're charged with putting it all back the way it was. There's people's lawns, everything else. But in the end, you got to be realistic. You're still going to be paying some millions of dollars for this, and it's going to be reflected in rate increases. There's just no way around it. And that's what it's going to do.
It's not going to be a surcharge where you're going to be getting hit with a one-time,
No.
$1,000 or $2,000 for that work.
No, and they've done that. They've done that in a lot of communities. They have done that, surcharges like that. But in this case, I believe it's just going to be a rate increase.
And how does that impact as we were discussing at the top of the program, where sidewalks and paving has been done in different parts of the city, and
Well, there you go
it
again.
appears to me that we're looking at a major league tear-up.
Well, you're talking generally 12 to 18 inches is all they need in the width of the channel that they would have to dig from the main pipe along the lateral to the house. All right, but yes, it is going to go through asphalt. They sometimes can go under sidewalks because it's that far down the water line. They do that a lot. I've seen them do that a number of times where they can actually go under sidewalks. So I'm not sure about the sidewalks, but the lawns are definitely going to be, dug up to an extent, and they're charged with putting it back. It's also it's very interesting, but they're going to start, one of the things that they had to do, and this was by...
The council just approved the contract from them. And we have a phone call, John.
Oh, my goodness.
So let's go to the phones here.
Sure.
Good evening, you're on the air.
Hi, Marty. I have a question
Whoa.
for Aaron and John. As a Democrat, I know that historically there's been many Democrats holding the seat of city council. How do these men feel that there should be a seat for every representation of political parties? So how do they feel about showing that there should be a Republican on the city council, a Green on city council? Why is that so important?
Okay, so you're suggesting minority party representation.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's let the gentleman answer the question.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we're one of only two municipalities, I think, left in Connecticut that does not have that. So by state law, there's a minority party representation law. And minority party representation law that says we have to have, if the minority party has a certain representation, right, and that's what the Greens have been pushing for, to get to that level where they get that threshold. They have to have a seat on the, their highest vote getter will get the seat, right? So Marty, in your case, you would have gotten the seat because you were beaten by people that were cross-endorsed on the Working Families Party, and they got to vote for both of them, and you were the fifth or sixth highest vote getter, not the eighth, right? When you actually look at by party line, 2 years ago. So we're one of the few. I think it's us and Groton are the only two that don't have that representation anymore, and it's because the way the law was worded, it was grandfathered in. If your charter didn't have it before, I forgot what date, 1980 or something, 1960, I can't remember what year it was.
It was in the mid-'80s, and it was initiated by our own state rep, Deputy Speaker of the House, Bill Sievers, who did this to put the hammerlock on New London.
Yeah, so that we got grandfathered in as a city. So I think we should have minority representation. I mean, honestly, I would love that. 3 of us got elected. Shanice Austin for the Greens got elected, and 3 Democrats get elected, because then we would not have a majority city. The Democrats promote diversity on everything, but the one thing they don't accept is anyone that disagrees with any of their positions. Because if you don't agree with their politics, their tolerance for diversity goes to 0. Right? So we have to, I think the best solutions come from when we work together. Anyone that's worked on a group project before knows that for the most part, the projects that succeed are because everyone comes in with an idea, you work together, and you come up with the best idea comes out of everyone putting their ideas in and hashing out what works. The worst outcomes are always on projects where one person comes in and strong arms their opinion from the get-go and tries to commandeer the whole thing. And you see that in the way our city's ran. It's ran by a group of people that have commandeered it, and I got some flack in the day for this, but it's ran almost with a medieval feudalism system, right? You have the nobility that look at themselves as they're in charge, that we all are, we all have to fall in line with them. If we don't, kiss the ring and we don't support them directly, that we don't have any rights under them. That our rights are granted by them, not their rights are granted by us as the electorate.
Yeah.
So I absolutely think we need to have minority representation.
What do you think, John?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a whole thing in government that people like to see. It's called checks and balances, and we don't have that right now. Right?
Well, we haven't since we changed the charter for the strong mayor.
Yeah. Well.
That's a dozen years ago.
Yeah, and I was against that.
I understand.
And I think it was a bad deal. But and still, I believe it is. But the way it comes down in the city right now is the city council does not get to handle national issues. We don't get to vote on abortion. We don't get to vote on these types of things. What we get to vote on is how to best run a city, right? And you need somebody like Aaron with numbers. He can handle numbers really, really well. So he can ask a lot of questions. You need myself. I have a lot of experience. I'm 72. I've run businesses. I've started businesses. I've done all kinds of events. I've done a lot of things. So I have a lot of experience and know what questions to ask. And then need a social justice person, and right on through to the gamut, which we had years ago when city leaders would deem to be on the city council. We don't have it now at all. So
We got a half a dozen social justice warriors up
well,
there.
that's true. But we need right now, and we need, and I agree with I would tell our caller that I do agree. We should have minority representation. And it just makes sense in this thing. Out of 169 municipalities in the state, 2 do not have it. Yeah, we need it.
And it would require a charter revision.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that what incentive does our local Democratic Party have to open the charter for this? Why would they voluntarily give up 2 seats on the school board and the council? And you see, that's a problem, because they have no incentive to it. I mean, since we've changed to our mayor form of government, I mean, we've only had Spicacci served a term singularly, and I've served 2 terms singularly as councilors, and all the rest have been Democrats. And our school board had been all Democrats except for 1 term when Pirro got elected as on the school board. So I mean, it's been really an unmitigated disaster in terms of having a sharing of thoughts and ideas.
It's funny. That made me think of about them not having the incentive. Well, think about tort reform. I know it's a little off topic. But tort reform is a big subject. But guess what? The majority of legislators going national, state here are attorneys. You think they're going to vote to take away the gravy train? No, they're not. The same thing here with we need minority representation just to have those questions asked that aren't being asked. Yeah. And that's, like I said, it could be good or bad, because I don't disagree with everything the mayor does. And I don't agree with everything he does. Like, you and I have been friends for quite a number of years. We have disagreements.
No.
Yes, we do.
Come on.
I don't know Aaron well enough to have had a disagreement with him yet, but, we've had it, and we're still friends.
Well, one thing I wanted to tap into before we run out of time here is because I know you've been working real hard, and Gina Phillips, who's our other candidate running for council, and boy, I'll tell you, she's got a lot of signs out there, and I've seen her posts on Facebook, I think very thoughtful. But what are you guys hearing on the street? What are people telling you that's important to them? I mean, is it the schools? Is it police? Is it the waterfront? Is it Ocean Beach? Is it what is it? I mean, most people in London aren't shy, and they'll give you an earful when they get going.
I think a lot of people have been concerned about public safety. Right? They again, you can't have shootings in your main business district. That's just a non-starter for most people. I think transparency with the government, right? To John's point, waiving 3 readings, then put our current leadership pushing through what they want to push through when they want to push it through. I think is irking a number of people. The schools, I honestly haven't found as much traction. The people that have been really supportive of me on the schools have been people that work in the schools in New London. They've been, obviously they don't want to be identified because it's their employer, but they're frustrated with some of the direction. And to your point, the safety in the school, right? We've let the students run the teachers in some way. They have a whole bunch of issues with behavior that they can't control. Again, that goes back to, should we have a school resource officer, or at least some way of having better behavior or focus on education in a school instead of focus on discipline, right? And I see that when I was working or volunteering at the robotics team. The administration's #1 focus is discipline, not education. I'm trying to focus on building a robot and teaching kids useful skills and trades and how to use an end mill or a lathe or how to do an engineering drawing. And they're going, oh, well, this person, they can't do it because they got caught with some kind of post on social media, so they're sitting out 3 days or whatever. Like, okay, well, that's stupid on their part, but, they're at least trying to work. Or this person came in here and wanted to disrupt the whole team, so the whole team got shut down for a day because someone decided they want to have a fight in the middle of the class. They want to bring their grudges with them. So.
And John, your Homeward Bound Treasures is right in the center of downtown. I mean, people are coming in and out of your store every day, and
A lot of them do.
and what are you getting from feedback? I mean, and is it having an influence in terms of your thought process for the betterment of our community?
Well, Marty, I don't know if you're going to like this answer or not, but most of the people, well, let's say a large majority of the people that come into my store are not English speakers. These
It's a
people,
big segment of our community.
these people are just putting one foot in front of the other. They don't know the issues, right? They don't know there's even an election. They couldn't tell you who the mayor was. But they'll go and vote, and somebody will hand them something and say, vote for these guys, and they vote for them. And that's what's been going on in the city. Low information, no information voters are carrying the day. And the people that come in and speak to me about any issues are usually just grumpy. Really, they are. I mean, they come in and they're grumping about something. Like I had a guy in today, he was grumping about the potholes, and somebody come in and it's interesting what we got going on.
Yeah. Well, we're what, 2 weeks out for the election, or is it 2 or 3?
3.
3 weeks out.
Don't scare me like that.
And I hope to see both you guys, along with Ms. Phillips and John Martin on the school board, achieve some success. And let's have a little. I think things are ripe for some change here. I think that our caller earlier kind of gave a little hint on that.
And don't
There's a
forget,
level of dissatisfaction with the status quo.
Don't forget Gina too. She's a wonderful candidate. Owns a business in New London. Raised 3 children here. Daughter's a coach, lacrosse coach at the high school. She runs a business, small business in a very male-dominated world.
Paving
She owns
contractor,
a
yep.
paving contractor.
Well, we're going into fade mode, guys. So I want to thank you both for coming in. Been watching City Focus. Good night.